Hello, and welcome to the MMQB NFL podcast. I'm Conor. That's Albert Breer. I got my snow stuff on. Big day. Got to finish up the Christmas lights before we leave town for Thanksgiving. Process that started, Albert, back on November 1. I'm a day after Halloween guy because you want to maximize not only the effort that you're putting in, but the weather. And
That's aggressive.
I want to avoid exactly what I'm about to do, which is to go freeze my nads off and finish up this whole ornate display of blow-ups and everything like that. But the one favor that I did do myself this year, permanent Christmas lights. So you actually screw them into the soffit of your roof, and then, you can make them black and orange for Halloween. You can make them red and green for Christmas. You can make them pink and blue
That's
for
incredible.
Easter. And then you can just make them like nice summer, like outside lights in the summer. And so it's a one-shot deal. You hide them so you don't see them anywhere. And it's just going to make me more efficient. That's what this is all about,
Yeah,
Do you put up your own Christmas lights?
We don't have Christmas lights because we're so far off that we're off the street. So we have a long driveway and we're back up off the street. Yeah. So, and one thing that I've got a huge beef with that I lost a fight over with Emily, we have a fake Christmas tree, which really bothers me, still bugs me. And I'm a real Christmas tree guy. The problem is that with the dogs, the real Christmas tree causes a problem and the cleanup is a pain in the ass.
Will they pee on it?
Huh?
They pee on it?
I don't think we ever got to that point, but I think maybe it happened once, when our older dog was younger. But anyway, so I basically let her run the show on all this stuff. And now I haven't done the Clark Griswold thing where I'm climbing on the roof and all of that. And we are very much Emily's very disciplined. She decorates for Halloween. Everything's down November 1st. She won't put anything up until after Thanksgiving, but it'll go up really quickly after Thanksgiving, and then it'll come down. Everything will come down really quickly after Christmas. So we don't have things lingering in the house until New Year's. She's almost militaristic about that.
I respect that.
And I have nothing to do with any of it. So
I just can't believe
for the ride.
I just can't believe you don't throw up a couple lights. I mean, it's not for you. It's it's not about.
It's for the kids. Yeah, I know. Maybe we should.
Throw up a couple.
I'm not against doing that. I actually think, I don't mind doing stuff out in the yard now because it's I used to not like it, but now it's a chance to I can throw my AirPods in and listen to a podcast like this one, and just kind of have some peace and quiet for a little while. You know what I mean?
How miserable would you be raking the leaves just listening to us talk about football?
Listening to yourself.
Yeah, just listening to yourself talk about football. I'd be like, oh, that was a bad point I made on the Chargers. Yeah,
just firing off Shedeur takes while I staple lights to the house. Yeah, so I'm not the most experienced person when it comes to that. My dad used to do it. What's interesting is because my mom's Austrian, for those who don't know, and Christmas is a very big deal there, and it's sort of celebrated a little differently there, where kids get presents on Christmas Eve and all of that. And so she was very much she did not want colored lights anywhere. It was only the because she thought it was tacky, and they are again maybe this is one of the reasons why I married Emily is because my mom also is very, I would say, set in her ways about Christmas and the way you decorate for it and all of that.
I think it's a rite of passage. I do think that there's something about hanging your ass off a ladder, with the screwdriver in your hand, trying to jam something into the to the gutter, and and then the lights fall, and then you get them up. There's been a couple of years where you get them up, and then all of a sudden one of the lights falls off, so the whole string goes out, and then you got to take the whole thing back down again. I think that there's just something to that. It's like an exercise that you need to go through. Some people, like Aaron Rodgers, does ayahuasca, and that clears his mind and resets him. I put up the Christmas lights, and I get so mad that you end up throwing stuff at the car, and somehow that is a hard reset, and then I'm a better person afterwards. I think everybody has their process.
Yeah. And my process is letting somebody else handle it. So
not doing it. We got a lot to get to today, and I want to start because I'm curious your take on this.
Yep.
A lot of big games that happened, and a lot of consequential games. We had some big injuries. We had two coordinators fired, which is insane. The Giants fired Shane Bowen, and the Raiders fired Chip Kelly after just two
Yep.
god awful performances collectively by both of those units. And so we'll get to all that. But I want to start with a thought that I had that kind of crystallized for me, Albert, after the Chiefs Colts game, and we'll go there first. So the Chiefs beat the Colts, and it was your classic down to the wire 23-20 game. And you could say what you want about the Colts, maybe some procedural mistakes there, maybe a couple play calls that Shane Bowen or Shane Steichen would like to have back. But when this whole thing was unfolding, and I wrote about this, and you wrote about the Chiefs as well, um, my thought kept going back to this is exactly how the NFL wants it to go. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, okay? But like the Chiefs came into this game the second best offense in terms of EPA in the league and like 12th in defense, right? But a good team, like a top 8
Yep.
team with a bad record. But if you look at the Chiefs, if you look at the Ravens, if you look at the Texans, if you look at a bunch of other teams that we knew were going to be good going into this year, they were just assaulted with games at the beginning of the season. Every single game was a
Yeah.
primetime game against a premium opponent. And what do? We start ignoring the nuances of the schedule and we start saying, well, what's wrong? The Chiefs dynasty's over. It's ending. And then, oh, here they come. And what it also does, Albert, is it creates teams like the Colts, who started the season like a house on fire, but also played the Titans twice and the Dolphins and a bunch of really teams that we knew were going to be bad, right?
Yep.
And I'm wondering if this new feature, incidentally, is just an additional win for the league, where it's like if you pacify the broadcast partners, and the broadcast partners just want good games at the beginning of the season while all the players are healthy, right? They want as many stars in big slots as possible while these guys are still playing, okay? And if the NFL continues to operate this way, it's kind of brilliant because you take all the good teams and you push them down a peg, and then you take all the mediocre teams and you lift them up to the point where we're sitting here believing that something drastic and unfathomable has changed, like the changing of a guard in the NFL. And then you get to week 13, you're like, oh shit, the Chiefs are good. I forgot. Like this team's still excellent. The Colts are okay. They're not as good as we thought they were. And all is sort of normal with the world. But I have to admit, I was taken for a little bit of a ride this year. I don't know. Sunday's game then changed a lot for me, though, because the Colts threw everything at Kansas City, and Kansas City won. It was the perfect matchup for Indianapolis, and Kansas City still got away with a win.
Yeah. And I think like, I don't want to be corny about it. I got accused of like echoing Tony Romo, which I don't have like the audio. I don't. One thing is like people ask me about
Good thing you didn't
the
echo Tom Brady. He said some weird stuff on Sunday.
well, I really don't hear any of it though, because like I'm so I like, just to give people an idea of my setup, I got two screens right in front of me right here. I've got a sidecar screen to my computer, and I've got all these different games on, and I'm just trying to digest as much of it as I possibly can. And so I'm not listening to any of the announcers. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't tell you who's great and who's not. Like I've got a better idea of, the primetime games, the primetime teams, because like those are standalone games. But so like I got accused of I guess echoing Tony Romo, but I think it really was like, and it sounds corny, but I think it really was a heart of a champion game. I mean, there was a point in that game where it looked like it was over. And when they're down 20-9, and Kareem Hunt fumbles near the goal line, it was like, okay, that's it. Like, it's just, maybe this isn't the Chiefs' year. I mean, you could hear the narrative starting. You know what I mean? Like, and so like after that fumble, here are the numbers. And I looked this up as part of my story, so everybody can check out on the website. They outgained the Colts 231-18. They averaged 5.9 yards per play on their 39 plays and held the Colts to 1.5 yards on their 11 plays. They held the defense held the Chiefs without a first down over the final 23 minutes of the game. And over the same period, the Chiefs churned out 13 first downs and had scoring drives of 56, 87, and 81 yards. I mean, this was not, there's nothing fluky about that. You know what I mean? Like that's not like a couple balls bouncing your way. Like that's basically gathering everything you have, knowing your season's on the line and putting your foot in the ground and going. And I'm so impressed by that. Like I still think we haven't seen the best of this team. Like we started to see Rashee Rice last night, right? We started to see who he can be and why they've stuck with him the way that they have. I think we saw a little bit more from Brashard Smith, the rookie. We saw a little bit more from Xavier Worthy. I think Josh Simmons is going to become a really good player for them at left tackle. I think what all of that tells you, what I think we dismiss with these teams when we're in the middle of the season, everybody needs a take on a Monday or a Tuesday, is that for teams that are in this position that know they're going to be there in the end, the season is like an evolving thing for them. They're not going out to prove anything. They're not going out to establish anything. They're going out to figure out what the best mix of their players are, what their strengths and weaknesses are in December and January. So when they get to the playoffs, they really have a good idea of what their identity is, what they need to lean into. And I think the Chiefs are figuring that out now, and so I think it's a heart of a champion game for them. I think it's a figuring out who they are game for them. And I'm going to be really interested. I mean, that late afternoon game on Thanksgiving has just became really, really interesting.
So I don't even think it's like I'll go a step further than you. I don't think it's that this team is figuring it out. I think this team was already really good, and it just took us a while to realize it. Look at their schedule from the beginning of the year.
I know.
Chargers in Brazil, full strength Chargers in Brazil. Then the Eagles, okay? Then the Giants. But then the Ravens, the Jaguars, the Lions, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bills, the Broncos, the Colts. Like the NFL takes like 5 or 6 teams a year and just puts them through an absolute meat grinder.
Yeah.
For the
screws them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could say you put it however you want it, but there's a why, right? And that's that all the networks want their hands on Mahomes, before he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you worry about a player getting hurt, especially as the season wears on, wear and tear, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought about this last night because the Colts had the absolute perfect Mahomes antidote game plan. They had 2 great man cover corners. So they had Ward and they had Sauce Gardner, who really shut them down for like 3.5 quarters. Okay. You have a great active front. And you have Latu, who was so good as a spy in that game and didn't allow Mahomes to rush. You have all this stuff combined, and Kansas City still wins because they break them down at the end with these 2 really long drives. Ward and Sauce Gardner just become exhausted, and then finally Rashee Rice breaks out. But that to me shows, like, I don't think there are very many teams, Albert, that are going to play them tougher than the Colts played Kansas City. Like if you look around, there's probably 5 or 6 defenses that are better than the Colts in the NFL right now. And okay, is Kansas City the best team in the NFL? No. Are they one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL? Yes. And I think that once this thing levels out, like, because look at the Colts schedule now. It's all backloaded, right? And so we're going to change our mind about the Colts over the they have Houston, they have Jacksonville, Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, Houston. They might not make the playoffs.
Like, so let's do this exercise really quick, because you're right. Like people strip context of it, just look at records, ignore injuries, all of that different stuff. Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, the Chiefs get in as a wild card, which would mean that they're going on the road in the first round of the playoffs. Okay.
And that seems likely with Denver's record right now.
Right. That does seem likely. Okay. So they have, and I do think, like, you look at their schedule, I mean, they're at 6 wins now. If they win on Thursday, that's 7. They're getting to at least 10, right? So they're going to, they'll be in. Let's just call the 4 division champions right now: the Patriots, the Ravens, the Colts, and the Broncos, right? In a wild card playoff game, would you pick them to beat the Patriots?
Yes.
Would you pick them to beat the Colts?
Yes.
Would you pick them to beat the Ravens?
Yes.
Would you pick them to beat the Broncos?
Yes. No question. And that's
And
why I think,
we're right back where we started.
and
Like,
I'll go as far, Albert, is to say that about another team, and maybe not as aggressively, but I would say the same about the Texans the way that they're playing right now. I mean,
oh, I mean, if the Texans can get 90% of what CJ Stroud was as a rookie, look out. That defense is ridiculous. Like what
look at that.
that defense made Josh Allen look like it was 5 years ago. You
The
know what I
only
mean? Like,
the only team in my mind that is not schedule based underperforming, but is just straight up underperforming is the Bills. The Bills, they don't have the injury excuse, but they kind of had the Sun Belt portion of their schedule, okay? And they lost some games that they should not have lost. I don't think you could really say that about any of these other teams. I mean, Houston's different because I think that there's a lot going on there, but Kansas City in
I mean,
particular, it's like,
Houston had like, I mean, like, let's remember with Houston too, like, if we're going to talk about context, they had a black hole at running back after Joe Mixon got hurt. So now they've been relying on a rookie there and Woody Marks. They had Nico Collins hurt early in the year. They started having to rely on rookies at receiver and
right.
Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. They have a rookie left tackle in Ariante Ursary, and they have a rookie offensive coordinator in Nick Caley. So on paper, that should be getting better. And I think it is getting better, even with Davis Mills in there. Right. And I think Higgins is going to be a real weapon for them. You know, I think Ursary has gotten better where left tackle is not the dumpster fire it was, you know, earlier in the year. I think there's progress on offense where if CJ comes in, like, I'm really interested to see what CJ Stroud looks like next week.
Yeah.
Or in 2 weeks. Well, no, who do they have next week? Next week, they have the Chiefs in 2 weeks. They have, I believe it's, they got the Colts next week. So I'm really interested to see, because I think the Texans go into Indianapolis and win that game.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for messing up the schedule. We're treating this as live, so that's live radio for you. I'm not a big stop down and re-record guy.
I know, it's like I may, you know,
It's Monday morning. I was up till 3. I'm okay with making a slip up on the schedule or two. I can handle that.
yeah. So whatever. I mean,
But the Texans are very dangerous because they're very young in a lot of key spots on offense, and I think they've got a defense you can win a championship with.
yeah, and I just think it's one of those things that you need to pause, and you need to at that 6 and, you know, at that 12-week mark, it's like, what really has occurred to this point during the season? It's like, oh, they're 0-5 in one-score games, they can't close out, blah, 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 blah. Or is it that like every week is a goddamn slugfest, and you know, it gets exhausting after a little while?
Well,
And
here's the other thing with the one other thing with the Chiefs too. They've played a record 19 playoff games over the last
that too, yes,
6 years.
yeah,
They went they're dealing with the 17 game schedule with champions of the past we're not dealing with. The amount of damage they've taken on, like you said, they've played every day of the week, I think, over the last 2 years, right? The amount of damage that they've taken on, there's a piece of that I think is a factor here too.
no doubt. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS, so they built tough boots that feel great from day one. No break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Brunt sent me the Marin boots, guys, and not only do they look good, I mean, I wear these things out on date night. I wear them sometimes to, you know, nice events or to church or whatever on Sunday, but also they're just crushing it when I'm outside, you know, fixing a stone wall in my yard, when I'm raking the leaves, when I'm putting up Christmas lights. They're secure and they're comfortable. I love everything about them. These are no doubt the most comfortable work boots I've ever worn, and they're built to perform. Whether you need waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull on, or lace up, they have options that can handle whatever job site you're walking into. And Brunt stands behind what they make. You can wear them to work, and if they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand doing that. That's a company that believes in their product. Brunt isn't just about work boots. They offer a full range of high performance gear built for tough jobs, heavy duty work pants, weather resistant jackets. Brunt designs durable, reliable workwear to keep you protected and productive in any condition. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. And for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use code MMQB at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com and use that code MMQB, and you're good to go. And after your order, they'll ask where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from this show. Fellas, you already know what time it is. It's time to level up, and Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand. This ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is the 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We're talking 2 ingredients for blood flow that keep you pumping, mixed with apomorphine and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and your body. Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue and works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. This is peak passion and peak performance in a single tablet. Make life easier by getting harder, and discover your options at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with code MMQB. That's promo code MMQB. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Just on the Colts front, I'll say this. I mean, I just don't. The Daniel Jones criticism is starting to mount, and Shane Steichen took a lot of heat, I think, for taking the ball out of Jonathan Taylor's hands, and he took heat too for taking the ball in overtime. I think taking the ball in overtime is the right move. Tony Romo does not, but I also think that. I mean, what's your quick 10-second Tony Romo take? Because that guy just seems lost to me. Like, and I know you weren't
listening. Again, like I don't watch enough of Tony Romo. I have no idea because I don't watch enough of it. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I like this is with all due respect because I know how hard those jobs are.
They are
to Jim Nance's and the Tony Romo's of the world. I just with the Sunday games, I just like I can't tell you how good Tom Brady is or isn't.
Tom's
you know what
on
I mean?
fire right now.
Huh?
Tommy's on fire right now. Although he had a slip up for the ages this week, possibly. I don't know. We'll have to.
I mean, I wish honestly, like Conor, I wish I could sit back and watch the games that way. It's not the way my job works.
Right.
So,
right.
like, unfortunately, like I don't have a great sense for it. You know who I think does a great job is Troy Aikman. I really like Troy because I feel like Troy has gotten past that key point of not giving a crap about like what someone thinks and having no problem having a confrontation with somebody if somebody has a problem with something he says.
That is important. Yes,
and I think it's a key place to be where, I think we even get there with reporters where you're as reporters where you get to a point where it's like I can be critical of this person and not burn a bridge. You know what I mean? Like that's where Troy is. And so, but for the most part, like I have a hard time really having some sort of like definitive take on who the best guys on Sunday are on the afternoon windows. I just don't get a chance to watch enough of it.
There's a moment in that where like the Chiefs were going to go for it on a big like 4th and 3. And Tony Romo's like, I would go for it. And Jim Nance is like, oh yeah, why? And then he's just like, and then he just starts like talking a little bit. And then he just goes, actually, I wouldn't go for it. And then the Chiefs punt, and then he goes, actually, you know what? I would have gone for it. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? We're just sitting here. Like, he's like me. Like, he just doesn't shut up. And I think that no one would ever want me to broadcast one of their NFL games. But you know what? I do still have some love in my heart for Tony. But Tony didn't like the Colts taking the ball in overtime. I love teams taking the ball in overtime. I think you should take the ball in overtime every time. But I think this is just, they're realizing what they're up against. The Falcons put an awesome blueprint on tape against the Colts in Germany for how to really bother Daniel Jones. Every team has been using it since. They're getting in his lap, and he's making mistakes like he always did, right? When he got a lot of pressure with the Giants. That's
Right.
on the coaching staff to readjust now and to maybe take some stuff off his plate and to just double down on the running game. And we'll see if they're able to do that.
Yeah, and that to me is the key. Is like the best way to deal with pressure. The best way to deal with pressure is by is through your running game, and that was what they were able to do. In Germany against the Falcons was like they really leaned in on Jonathan Taylor at the end of that game, and Jonathan Taylor took over. And he's their best player. I mean, it's a simple thing, but like. If you want to get your quarterback in more 2nd and 6 and 3rd and 2 and keep control of the game so the score, isn't a factor, the best way to do that is through your running game. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's the reality of it. And it's why I do think, Jonathan Taylor is a real contender for most valuable player.
It should be. Yeah.
If the Colts and look, like I think there are a couple guys who I'd put in that category. There are a couple guys I put in that category, like that. I think if you're talking about non-quarterback MVPs, but Taylor's been number one for me all year. He might not be anymore after yesterday.
Well, and we'll get to Matthew Stafford.
No. He might not be the number one non-quarterback anymore for me.
All right. I mean,
Matthew Stafford would be my MVP.
I think so too. Yeah.
I actually have a vote this year, so I would say.
Whoa!
Yeah, right now hello. I would have to say I've been thinking about this a lot because I do think it's a responsibility, a big responsibility, and I would say right now I would go Stafford, May. See, I almost put Josh Allen in there by default. You know what I mean? Like, because I know how much he does for that team, but then he's had a couple of clunkers that maybe take him out of that mix. But I go Stafford, May. Who would be number 3 for you? Taylor then? Or Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Christian McCaffrey.
That's the guy I look at. McCaffrey's interesting too, because McCaffrey to me is like the one constant in San Francisco. Like everything else has been flux, McCaffrey and Trent Williams are the two constants.
Right. I mean, I would vote a good left tackle in the MVP race every year. I've done that, and it's really bothered people who have done, and now I don't have a vote. But how do you see?
No, but I actually I'm with you on this. We're gonna go on a tangent here, but I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? Like I think
it's all the difference. Look at the Chargers.
Honestly, it does. I've heard people say that's not as big a deal. That position is not as big a deal as it used to be, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
Out of your mind.
Because I think if you look at it, the teams that have real offensive line issues they're the ones that don't have a left tackle. And then we've seen other teams over the years, the Rams when Whitworth was there, the Niners with Trent Williams. Like how many other linemen could you name on those teams?
Right.
But they have a great left tackle, and so the rest falls into place. I think the left tackle is as important as it's ever been, because if you have one, you can have a little bit less at the other 4 positions,
Yeah.
And so I think you could argue Trent Williams is the one person that the Niners can least afford to lose.
Oh, 200%.
Oh, 200.
Yeah. I mean, there's just, they're host 100,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, by the way, who'd you knock off to get the MVP vote? What was that? What was that all about?
It was one of those things where I don't know. Maybe I have too much pride to ever ask for those sorts of things. And somebody asked me, like, you don't have one. And then somebody talked to somebody, and Rob Madai, who I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Rob. But wow. He's the guy who runs it, the AP, and he reached out to me last year. And so, yeah, wow. But I do think it's an important, I am going to take it seriously, because I think it almost makes me a little uncomfortable that guys' bonus money and stuff like that can be tied to these things. So I'm going to take it very, very seriously. And I'm going to do what I always do, which is try to call 1 million people to make sure that I have the all-pro guard right, that I have the all-pro defensive tackle right. So, yeah.
Lot more to get into with this one, but we got to move on because there
Yep.
was 3 or 4 games this weekend that were just absolutely massive. Another one was the Cowboys beating the Eagles 24-21. Called that on our weekly staff picks. I think anybody who watched that first matchup, the way that defensive line was so undermanned, and the way that they played the Eagles, you knew when they got Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams and they upgraded the way that they did, that they were going to be able to shut down this running game, and they did. Now, the manner in which this happened, I did not expect. 21-0 Eagles at half, and then 24-21 a Cowboys victory. Albert, you talked to Shoddy after this one.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Um, Look, like he made the comment, and he like people poke fun of it, but he made the comment that I want to have the best culture, I think, in the history of professional sports, whatever it was, right? And I think it was just really his way of saying we're really going to prioritize the environment in the building and what the guys are coming in to work with every day, all of that. I think you saw it, like the energy that team was playing with
Right.
in the second half of that game just jumped off the screen. I don't know if you saw the video of the guy on kick coverage, Clark, Elijah Clark, I think is his name. Forgive me if I'm messing up the first name. I think it's Elijah Clark, where he was the gunner and the Eagles cover guy. I think it was, who was it? I think it was Sidney Brown, right? The corner on their punt return team knocked him to the ground twice. And Elijah Clark still made it.
Yep.
Inside the 10-yard line.
It was incredible. Like there's a clip of it online. He's blasted and gets knocked out twice and still makes it down the field at a full sprint to be able to jar the ball loose. It's incredible.
Right. And I just think like there's little things like that you can see where it's like it's weird because like you look at somebody like George Pickens, right, who had all kinds of issues in Pittsburgh. And like you always think, like I always think in my head, like I would never want a player that Mike Tomlin's willing to trade away, right? Like because he's so good at managing personalities and egos and all that different stuff that when he's done with somebody, you just sort of feel like, okay, like, you know, like I'd probably be really careful about acquiring that guy. They're maximizing George Pickens. And I think a lot of it's because of the environment there, you know, like it's just, you know, you see young players developing, you see the energy the team is playing with, you see they're down 21-0. There's no quit. Obviously there's the storyline of just the most awful, unspeakable tragedy that happened a couple of weeks ago there. That's way bigger than football, but you know, like I do think that they've rallied around each other. I'm just so impressed. And I think the other thing is too, like, and I think you got to give Will McClay and the personnel department credit for this, is it does feel like they had a vision for replacing Micah Parsons, you know? And like, I think maybe some people owe those guys an apology because I look at like and you think about like the Matt Eberflus defense, right? And when it was at its best in Indianapolis, it was built around a really disruptive defensive tackle in DeForest Buckner and another guy who could really make that happen too in Grover Stewart. And they went to a 5-man front, you know, about a month ago, and they started playing more out of a 5-man front, which for people who don't know, it gives you a chance to get more interior defensive linemen on the field at once. And so they pay Osa Odigizua in the offseason. They trade for Kenny Clark as part of the Micah Parsons trade. And then they bring in Quinnen Williams. And on Monday night against the Raiders, they hit the quarterback 11 times. 9 of those 11 hits were from those 3 defensive tackles, which is an insane number. Defensive tackles don't hit the quarterback at the same rate that edge players or blitzers do. And so I don't know, man. Like I look at it like you look at the totality of it now, and they still have 2 first-round picks in April, and they've got like now like a defensive front that maybe isn't quite what it was with Parsons there, but is really fits what Matt Eberflus is looking to do. The defense is no longer a weakness, and the offense looks explosive as all hell with, you know, George Pickens playing. And I still don't know if I'd pay him based on his history, but right now he looks like one of the best receivers in football, and he's playing opposite a guy who happens to be better than him, CeeDee Lamb. It's a really good Cowboys team right now. Like, and I'm just talking about in the vacuum for where they are. I don't know, Connor. I know you're like kind of like rubbing your eyes right now and everything,
No,
but
you know what it is? It's a headache for me because when you run your mouth for a living like I do, there are times where you write checks that your ass can't cash, and I fear that I have done that with the Dallas Cowboys.
I
And
mean, Overshawn coming back is huge for them, and that's one that like I don't know. He made plays yesterday, like it reminded me, like holy crap, I forgot this is a freak show,
I
of a
know.
player,
I know.
and like
And I knew like at 21 nothing. So, when you have your TV and so you have a couple different screens and I'm writing and you're texting some people and then when your TV shuts down due to inactivity because you haven't touched it in a while, which annoys the
yep,
shit out of me. So it happened at
sleep
halftime.
mode or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, so it happened at the halftime of the Cowboys-Eagles game, and then one of my kids is running around with the remote. The baby loves the remote, and so she throws it in the playpen, and then it just gets lost. And so I'm thinking to myself, I gotta find that remote because the Cowboys are coming back in this game, and I could feel it. And even the way that that game started, it just didn't feel like Dallas was completely out of it, and that scares me. And I guess I can I think two things can be true. The thought process and where Dallas landed with the whole Micah Parsons trade can still not make sense to you, and it doesn't make sense to me, and it might make sense to somebody else. Like, so you cannot like that, but you can appreciate what they're doing right now. Like some teams just get on a heater and then you upgrade at the trade deadline and it just changes the complexion of the team. And I think now that Dallas has a half decent rush defense, like I mean, God, everything that Jerry Jones looked at and backed up and said is coming to fruition. And again, very frustrating for someone like me who spent the better part of the last 3 months absolutely killing that guy.
I mean, I will. What I will, what I would give them respect for too, because this is not an easy thing to do, right? Is you realize, like, I think they looked at it and they said Dak Prescott's making 60, CeeDee Lamb's making 34. If we pay Micah 42, 43, whatever it is, like now we're looking at like really locking in on what we already have on the roster and where has that really gotten us?
Right.
I can tell you for a fact in August, like those questions were being bounced around in that building. Like if we stay the course on what we've already done, where is that going to take us? Or do we want to shake things up? And there was some risk involved, of course. Like they don't know they're getting Quinton Williams. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in the first week of November, like
Right.
they don't know that. Like, so they just have to like have faith that at some point there's going to be some opportunity that's going to come along where they're going to feel good about the flexibility they gave themselves. And I, like what wound up happening is they got a star defensive lineman who may not be what Micah is, but isn't that far off for like half the price financially. They wind up with better draft picks in the wash. Like I don't know. I mean, it's like it's hard not to look at this and think like a lot of people, and this is not directed at you, Connor.
It
A
can
lot
be.
of a lot of people look dumb for things that were said in August now. You know what I mean? Like, because it does look like the flexibility that they afforded themselves by staying the course of the current setup, we may be damned to the same outcome, and maybe we need to shake things up, giving themselves the flexibility to change the roster over and do some different things really seems to have worked out.
Not for me. That's all I'm saying. On the flip
Are
side,
you on the flip side of the Eagles? Are we now officially concerned? They're
no,
not. And
no,
my answer is no.
stop.
My answer is no.
Like I get that we do this for a living, and I have all the respect. The Eagles are the best covered team in the NFL, and I say that week in and week out, and I mean that. And I'm not blaming this on the Philly media in large part, but like the weekly melodrama there is exhausting. It's exhausting, and you know what it does? It like the fact that AJ Brown makes it all the way to getting taken out of practice, and he gets to talk to Jeffrey Lurie. It empowers more receiver insanity around the NFL. And we're seeing it in ways that I don't remember where these guys will just say the craziest shit after games. And I know this goes back to like even
Yeah.
beyond Keyshawn Johnson. Like I know that. I remember when Keyshawn Johnson's book came out and I was like, whatever, 10 years old. I remember that vividly and like all the coverage that got. But we are in a new golden age of receivers not understanding nuances of football and that they can't get 31 targets a game. It's insane to me. And the fact that like now AJ Brown gets the ball and he rips it up in the first half, and now Sirianni and Petula are getting banged for taking their foot off the gas, and like, oh, like sometimes this happens. Like you lose 6 times in a season. You know what I mean? That's still a really good season. I don't know, but I get it. You have to analyze everything, and you can't sit here and say like, okay, well, you win some, you lose some. I understand that too, but my God.
I used to say that, like, in Boston, when the Red Sox were a really big deal, and they're not as much anymore, but like 20 years ago, well, the Red Sox were clearly the number one team in Boston, even when the Patriots started winning Super Bowls. I remember like saying to somebody, people here treat baseball games like they're football games, in that like they would react off of a baseball game like there were 16 of them instead of 162,
Right.
And it's almost like the Eagles do that. Like you scale that to like how Philly treats football games. It's like every game is week 17, with the season on the line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like every single week. And that's a pressure cooker to exist in. Dak threw for 354 yards. But how many of those plays were like spectacular plays by George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb? Like it's not like guys were running free through the secondary.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there were plays where Mitchell or DeJean or Makuba, like guys were right freaking there. And it was just, the Cowboys got on a heater there. And I was like I said, like I thought that was just a great football game all the way around. And to me, the thing that stuck out about it is you got this Eagles team that's wildly physically talented. And here to me is like one of my biggest takeaway and how this is going to translate going forward. The Cowboys looked as big, as strong, and as fast as the Eagles.
And they did in week 1 too, in fairness to Dallas.
Yeah.
Before they went through their, So yeah. Are we prisoner of the moment?
And this time was with Jalen Carter out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a spitting epidemic in the NFL and in college now. And did you see? Because Jamar Chase, he wasn't there for the Bengals game,
right.
Patriots game this weekend. 2 Colorado State players, I believe, were suspended.
Which they might have won that game. They probably would have beaten the Patriots if Jamar Chase was.
Isn't that funny? And then 2 Colorado State players were suspended for spitting over the weekend. Or was it 1 or 2? I didn't
see any of this, so I don't know. But 2? So like, what happened? Was it like, did they plan it out? Was it like synchronized spitting? Or
let me see. Brian Fisher, our college football reporter, had it. But all I'll say is this: the people are right. Everyone shouted down my spitting take, Albert. And instead of spitting at someone, you should punch them in the face. You should, or you should bring a weapon on the field, because that's far more honorable than spitting on someone. So that's that. I mean, the people have spoken. Nobody agrees with me.
Jalen Carter, trendsetter.
All right.
Although I guess the other trend he said hasn't slowed down. I don't know if you guys saw, but more Georgia people got arrested for driving in a reckless fashion over the weekend.
People need something to do in that state. There's just not a whole lot going on. Guys, I have to tell you about Cash App. Scammers know the holidays are busy for everyone, which can make us all targets for scams. That's why Cash App builds in protection to help keep your money safe while you're checking off your shopping list. If you're about to send money to someone for a deal that's too good to be true, and Cash App flags it as a potential scam, they'll warn you before you send the money. Cash App also gives you an extra layer of protection with features like security lock. You can require a PIN, Face ID, fingerprint to unlock your account and move money. So even if someone gets a hold of your unlocked phone at a holiday party, your money is right where you left it. Gift yourself some peace of mind this holiday season and download Cash App. For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, just download Cash App. Use our exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Cash App's bank partners, prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. And it's that time again. Feast Week is back on Underdog from November 26th through November 30th. Check the app daily for special promos. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. This week, I'm looking for a big bounce back game from Daniel Jones. He's had a couple of rough weeks for the Colts. I'm looking at higher than 2 touchdowns for Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes, and the Colts getting right. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code MMQB to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code MMQB. Underdog, make picks, win money. All right, let's move on because we got a couple more kind of big games of consequence to hit here. I mean, really quickly, the Rams just decimated the Buccaneers 34-7, and I think the
Best
lingering. What's that?
Best team in football.
Yeah,
I'm ready to declare that the Los Angeles.
You were
Rams
on it, man. You were on it the whole time. This was your preseason Super Bowl pick. You have to be feeling really good about it.
Yeah, I just think that I think there's. I don't know if there's anything they don't do well. I think the quarterback is the MVP of the league.
Yep.
And to me, what really, last week, he didn't throw for 200 yards and they beat Seattle, who's I think Seattle's a top 5 team in the league, you know? And they beat Seattle without Stafford being otherworldly, which tells me that team can play left-handed. Like whatever fight you want to get into with the Rams will engage you, you know? And I just look at the young defensive front. Jared Verse is, fantastic. And the guys around him are too. Going out and getting McCreary, I think will help the secondary long-term. Finding guys like this is what the Rams are really good at. Finding guys like Nate Landman, you know what I mean? Stuff like they just, it's like, I mean, you get to the midpoint of the year. It feels like this is every year. The Rams just have, I mean, over the years, it's guys like, I don't know, like a John Johnson at safety or Darius Williams at corner, they just seem to come up with this second layer of players that really know how to play. I think it's a coaching staff where, I think McVay has it right where he wants it with his guys, Mike LaFleur and Chris Shula as the coordinators. They're firing on all cylinders, and that game could have been 70-0. They took their foot off the gas. That was going in a really bad way for a Buccaneers team that's really banged up, but I think is still pretty good.
Could have been the Notre Dame Syracuse score. Did you see the way, and that was a tough one for me because it's my favorite team against my alma mater. But I never really rooted for Syracuse athletics because I covered them the whole time. But
hold on, I saw the funniest tweet about this. Yeah, I mean, what was it? It was 21-0 before they took an offensive snap. Is that right?
Yeah, and it ended up being 70-7, and just to see, it
could have been worse. It definitely could have been worse.
Just to see Notre Dame take care of a storied program like Syracuse. You don't see Ohio State dominating teams like that. That's I think we're peaking at the right time. That's all.
We don't have Syracuse on the schedule either.
We have Rutgers. Rutgers today.
So Rutgers.
I mean, what is a Rutgers?
We all right. So the Rutgers game was one of the weirdest games I've ever watched. Our 2-star receivers, who are both going to be high first-round picks, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate didn't play. One with a calf injury, the other one with a quad injury, and to kind of get them ready to play against Michigan, and both. One of the guys that started the game was a walk-on from the Columbus suburbs. He started at receiver for us. So it was just a really strange, like, in all due respect to him, like, it's obviously a great story that as a senior on senior day, he's getting to start the game. But I can't remember seeing a college team treating games like the way they've treated the last 3 games, like they're controlled scrimmages, like they're preseason games. So it's been a very interesting few days. I'm trying to find this tweet because it was so
Syracuse
good.
legitimately started a lacrosse player at quarterback. He was their 5th string quarterback. He was a true freshman, and my God, can get the crap beaten out of him. But this is all to say that a long winding point that yes, the Rams probably could have put up a 70 burger on a Buccaneers team that we all thought was maybe good enough to make the NFC Championship game a couple weeks ago. The offense is reaching a point of stagnancy. I think the defense is reaching a point of stagnancy. I'm not ready to say that the Carolina Panthers can come out here and win the division. I mean, I guess nothing would surprise me at this point, but
Oh, here it is. This is from Jackie Locke. Sorry, this is too good not to share. At Jack_bonfire on X. Notre Dame is acting like Syracuse personally killed Jesus.
gee, my God. Good Lord. Man.
I mean,
oh,
yeah. Sorry.
So
I still have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old, so I apologize for
no,
that.
that was
3 minutes I just trying to find it. Hope it was worth it for you.
It was very much so. Is this just a bad Bucs team,
I'll
Albert?
I'll text it to you just so you have it.
Please do. I mean, is this Bucs team just bad or what? I mean, what's the?
They're banged up. I mean, like they still. I mean, it's look like I think again, this is another one of those context is everything things, right? Like so. Mike Evans is out. They just got Chris Godwin back, but he doesn't look like he's like close to 100%. They had the injuries in the offensive line earlier in the year.
Yeah.
They're still not perfect there. Cody Mock is still out. And they just went toe to toe with New England and Buffalo, and those were tough physical games. And it's again like kind of like a product of the schedule. You go up to Buffalo, go home, then you go across the country to the Rams. I think that's part of it. I think part of it too is just the Rams are really freaking good.
Do you have a problem with Todd Bowles having an injured Baker Mayfield go out there and try to throw a Hail Mary before the half, and then Baker just like crumbles to the ground?
I don't know. I always think with these things,
it's like what did Baker tell him? You know what I mean?
Right.
Right?
Like I just have a hard time seeing where Todd Bowles would put Baker in any sort of risk where I look like, in the flow of the action, a lot of times it's up to the player to say something. And I think, for the most part, like the trainers, the doctors, with the way it is now, I'd say generally most of those people are trying to do the right thing, because it's their ass in the line if they mess with the health of a player,
right.
So like I just think Baker's obviously a great competitor, and my guess would be like Baker. This is sort of a product of Baker not wanting to come out of a game, and then you get in to you get into the locker room at halftime and you sort of realize, yeah, he shouldn't have been out there. So my guess would be it'd be something more along those lines.
Yeah. I don't know what needs to, should the Bucs switch something up? I mean, we see good, really, really good defensive coaches sometimes, like, and Mike Tomlin's defense was in a rut a couple weeks ago. You move Jalen Ramsey to safety and all of a sudden, you look good and you bounce back for a couple weeks. I think they're averaging like 400 yards a game surrendered over the last 3 games. And that's sneaky, a big part of this too. It's not just how banged up the offense is, but they're going in another direction, and we'll see what the Panthers look like tonight, because all of a sudden, that defense, that division gets really interesting. And I'm not ready to welcome Kirk Cousins back into the fold in the Falcons, but that's another thing that
I mean, Kirk looked okay yesterday.
Kirk looked all right.
Yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
Like I don't know. There's just 2 games back now, so yeah. That division's always weird, and it looks like it's really going to be weird down the stretch here. Although, I mean, let's look at the Bucs schedule. They have some some room here to get well. Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers.
And
It's
those
all in front
and
of them.
yeah, and those 2 games
It's all in
against
front of the
Panthers are
Bucs.
massive, right?
Right.
Um,
And their losses were to the Lions, Patriots, Bills, and Rams over their last 5 games. So it's not like they're out here like losing to, below 500 teams.
Now let's skip over because I mean this Raiders game was of no consequence, really, but the Browns won 24-10. And it was Shedeur Sanders' first start. But there's a couple big things that happened before we get to Shedeur. First of all, Myles Garrett with another 4 sacks. The Browns had 10
I'm going
sacks.
to flip over. Hold on one second. I'm going to put first take on one of my TVs here. So if there's a Chiron on, here we go. Yep, it's Cam Newton in a funny hat with the Chiron. This is just randomly pulled up. What did Shedeur Sanders prove on?
God almighty, stop it.
You know what the crazy thing is about it, though, is we have there's so much good football. It's not like this was like, all right, we got to figure out something to talk about. It's not one of those Sundays. This is there's a lot to chew on.
This was an elite Sunday. Yeah. And
that Lions game was really interesting. The Bears beat the Steelers. They've got 8 wins now. Vikings, Packers. Where are the Vikings at? That's a pretty good storyline. The Chiefs we talked about for 20 minutes here on the podcast, right? The Seahawks look like they're really good. Eagles, Cowboys, big brand names, huge showdown. The Rams are a great storyline. And I just randomly turn on ESPN and it's what did Shedeur Sanders prove on Sunday?
Not a whole lot, which is why we're not going to go there first because we have to acknowledge.
Well, I couldn't. His interview with our friend Tiffany Blackman afterwards was really interesting too.
It was before the game when he said,
"No, there was one after the game too."
Oh Lord!
Where he said, "Imagine what I could do with a full off season." He said, "I did this after 1 week of practice."
All right. First, let's get to the important stuff, Albert. Myles Garrett has a very, very legitimate chance. He needs 5 sacks, I think, in the next 6 weeks to break the single season sack record at a time where this is one of the worst Browns offenses in recent memory, and this team almost never plays with a lead. I think that is one of the most phenomenal achievements and puts him in the conversation as one of the 5 greatest defensive players in NFL history. If he accomplishes that feat during this season, this was a slaughter to the point where, Albert, it was so bad. And I watched this game knowing that I had to write about Shedeur Sanders. I've never seen an offense this ill-prepared to face an elite defense. And Chip Kelly was fired after the game because of this. You had Stone Forsythe one-on-one on an island with Myles Garrett. And let me just tell you something, Albert, if you go back and you watch this and go back, if you have NFL Pro, and I'm trust me, I'm never someone to shill for NFL products. But you should buy NFL Pro because you get the all 22 access and you get to clip certain matchups. And so you can watch every Myles Garrett pass rush.
Yep.
There was a point in this game, Albert, where it's just like Madden on rookie mode, where you just go around the tackle right to the quarterback. You just go woo, like Christopher Columbus, and just circle him and then go right to the quarterback. It was embarrassing. But take nothing away from Myles Garrett, who was beastly. He was glowing.
There was a play, one of Myles Garrett's sacks, where it looked. It's I think it might be the worst I've ever seen a pass rusher make an offensive tackle look. It was he ran right by him.
Yep.
And it was oh my God. This is what should happen with some 5-star recruit that's playing in a small school league in high school.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This is what Derrick Henry in high school looked like. You know what I mean? And to see him do it at this level, it really is incredible. And God, I hope that at some point he's playing for a real contender. And I hope it happens in Cleveland because Cleveland's a great football city. And God, do they deserve to have a winner at some point there based on how important that team is to that region, despite all the losing. Myles Garrett's playing at another level. We do need to talk about Shedeur, right?
Yeah. So what I did for I'd write a column about Shedeur after the game, and I put in like a little breaking news thing at the top of the column, and I was like, "We interrupt your regularly scheduled Shedeur programming to just point out the fact that fucking Myles Garrett is going to break the NFL sack record, and this is unbelievable." And I've never seen an offense look this decimated and ill prepared to handle it. Let's get to the Shedeur thing. I mean, yes, Chip Kelly was fired. I don't think anybody watching that game could think that there was a cohesive plan on offense. I love Chip Kelly. I'm a big Chip Kelly defender, but I think this puts a lot of Tom Brady's early decisions under the microscope. Albert, you miss
Yep.
out, you swing and miss on Ben Johnson. I don't, you barely, you don't get him into the building. Then you make the Pete Carroll decision. He's on a short term. You pay $6 million for Chip Kelly to lure him away from Ohio State, maybe with the hopes that he one day takes over when Pete Carroll retires. I mean, now he's not even in the building anymore. And so, I
Yep.
mean, this thing is a mess, and I don't know if they know what they want at this point. So, I mean, I think
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, look, like I think that the roster was far away, and the roster was going to take time to rebuild. And this was never going to be a single offseason rebuild. And I do think that there's some push and pull there on Pete Carroll, who wants to win now. And, whether his age is a factor in that or not is a question that only he can answer. But I think there's obvious suspicion, natural suspicion that that's the case. And it's going to take time for them to build that thing. Now, I think they've got good people in the front office now. Like, I think John Spytek was the right hire as general manager, somebody that Tom Brady was together with in Tampa. So he had institutional knowledge on that one. But I do think a lot of it was like Tom Brady kind of like hiring people he respects. And in one sense, it helps on the front office side, but on the other side of it, on the coaching side, like he never worked with Pete Carroll, so he didn't really have the intricate knowledge there. That one gets pushed over the goal line. And, I think when you fire two coordinators in season the way they have already, so Patrick Graham's the last man standing of the three coordinators that Pete Carroll hired. One of the big picture questions you have to ask is, do we trust him to hire the next group? And do we think he's going to get it right this next time around? And that's something that, obviously the Raiders brass is going to have to ask when we get to the end of the season. Ask themselves when we get to the end of the season.
On the Shedeur front, I thought that the game plan was hilarious. And the reason why is at every instance, Shedeur tried to take the governor switch off the car and to push the throttle all the way to 90. And I think that's exactly what Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees didn't want to happen. And if you think that the Browns' confidence in Shedeur can be defined by this, every time they got into the red zone, it was Wildcat, and he wasn't on the field. Okay. They punted from the opponent's 27-yard line. After they punted from the 27, like Ross Tucker even said at the booth, he goes, "I've never seen this before in my entire life." I mean, that's how bad the Raiders' offense was, to be fair. And you're sort of playing within the flow of the game there.
Yeah.
But it was check the ball down, don't make any mistakes. And still, Shedeur would pull the ball, roll out, and fling it deep every chance that he got. And I don't. It's unfair of me to say that I don't see it. He clearly has talent, but I think that he's got to learn how to play in an orchestra first. And I think that there was a push and pull there that didn't sit quite well with me. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, they have the Niners next week, so we'll see how that looks. The one thing I would say for him is I think we saw enough to want to see him again, right? Like, I think, I'd be very, very clear on this. I do not think the Browns quarterback for 2026 is on the roster right now. Like,
correct.
And I don't know how much Shedeur can do to change that, but there's no rush to figure it out anyway. He's under contract for another 3 years. You don't need to figure out like whether or not he's going to be your quarterback in 27 or 28. I'm with you. Like, I think this was like the perfect Tebow mania type of experience.
Yes.
Where he throws a screen pass that gets recorded for 66 yards. And it's like Shedeur Sanders threw a 66-yard touchdown pass. Well, yeah, but it's like Tebow throwing the ball to Demaryius Thomas at the end of that game. And I think Was it Ryan Clark wasn't in the game because it was at altitude, and Ryan Clark has a sickle cell trait, right? And so there's a backup safety in there who fell down or something like that.
Yeah.
It it does have that Tebow mania element of weird stuff happening sometimes, or that this game did. Um, and I don't think he's going to be their quarterback in 2026. I think you're insane if you think that. But like, I think you did see enough to want to see a little bit more. And I mean, look, it's entertaining, right? I mean, we're here covering an entertainment product, and it's entertaining. So
The
have at it, America. Have at it, Cam Newton.
So I think once again, and God bless Brown's public relations, this is going to be a test of their ability to just, hold the fort. Because here's
I
what
just
happens.
think of the quarterbacks they've had there.
Right, but this Albert is
Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun
but
Watson,
this
and
is
now
different.
this.
This is different, and it's different in a lot of ways. And I think that there's a lot of components to this. And I don't know if you were on the sections of Twitter that I was on last
By the way,
night.
they're still talking about the Browns quarterback situation on First
Unbelievable.
Take. It's
It's unbelievable. But the same segment of the population that thought the Browns were not giving Shedeur proper reps as a second string quarterback are the same segment of the population that are now saying that the Browns weren't aggressive enough in letting Shedeur take the reins of the game plan and all that stuff. If they go back to Dylan Gabriel, I mean, the blowback that they're going to have to deal with and the drama that they're going to have to deal with I mean, it's so self-inflicted, but it just doesn't seem worth it to me. But the rest of their season, I think, is just going to be a migraine level headache. I just don't see any other way how it's not. I don't know. I don't know if you think it's different, but
no, I mean, that's the thing is they can't go back to him now, which is like, I think was probably part of their fear in doing this in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, was that like once you pull the ripcord and you go with Shedeur Sanders, like it's going to be really hard to turn back if he does even two or three things that are exciting, and he did two or three things that were exciting. So I mean, like, and look, like there were a couple of legitimate like good balls he threw. He threw the ball. I think it was to Isaiah Bond early in the game, right? Then you had another one that was a good ball. The one to Jerry Jeudy that Jerry Jeudy fumbled, that was a good ball. But he was wide open on that one, I think, right? So, I mean, like, look, like I think there's enough there where it's like let's see more against better opponents in a lot of ways. So, and I think the side benefit for the Browns in that is that, like, at the very least, then either they have something, or like if he does wind up looking the way that he looked in the preseason, then at least it becomes less of an issue for you going forward.
I mean, there was a couple.
Which, by the way, is why teams didn't want to take him on the third day of the draft. Like, we're seeing it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and then afterwards, people want to see me fail. I'm not going to fail.
Yeah.
And what did he say to
like,
Tiff Blackman after the game?
But you can see why a lot of teams are like, no, just give me Cam Miller from North Dakota State.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I love, Cam could throw a 60-yard check down. I think Albert Breer of Lincoln Sudbury could throw a 60-yard check down against that.
I could have gotten that ball to Dylan Sampson back in the day. Maybe I might be able to do it right now.
Let me see real quick. This will be a fun exercise. Let's see how far that ball traveled in the air. I'm going to see if I can get the. So we got about.
Is there like a site that tracks that?
I don't know if they would.
I would guess that ball traveled 18 yards in the air.
No,
because it was like, I think it went 18 yards in the air. Would be my guess.
18. Okay, so he's on one hash, and
because because the field's 53.5 yards wide, and I think they were in the middle of the field, right? I'm not sure that they were on the hash there. I would say 18 yards.
Oof. I don't know. Anyway,
did you pull it up?
Let's we can.
And I think Sampson was lined up. Didn't they split Sampson out on that play?
Yeah, but I don't think it was that far. I don't know. I don't know.
See,
Anyway,
now I'm curious. Now I'm invested.
we can bottle up
Oh,
the
by the way,
the
Donald Trump tweeted about Shedeur Sanders' first start
and the
from at real Donald Trump.
and the
Shedeur
Giants.
Sanders was great. Wins first game, career start as a pro for Cleveland. Great genes. I told you so.
Yep. Well, that guy's been right about everything since forever. So
No, he was lined up at an off. You're right. I think I may have oversold
I
this.
think it was
Yeah.
like 8, maybe like 8 yards in the air. I think he could have
No,
gotten it to
I'd
him.
say no. I'd say like 12. I'd say like 12. Like he was lined up in the backfield. He wasn't split out. He did get the ball in the flat. I would say about 12 yards. God, Samson looked like he was shot out of a cannon too.
Oh man, yeah, he had some.
That's the funny thing about all of this is like that rookie class is really good. We've talked about it before, but that rookie class is really good and it's completely overshadowed by all this drama. So
Yeah. All right, let's put a bottle in that for now, and just really quickly, Falcons 24, Saints 10. I mean, like you said, Kirk Cousins looked serviceable in this one. The Falcons moved to 4-7, and
yep.
the Saints dropped to 2-9. Tyler Shuck, I mean, they're throwing the ball a lot with him, and he's leading the team in rushing. Like, I think it's one of those things where they're doing all they can. I don't know if the quarterback of the future is in the draft, and so I would expect, us to have to pay a lot of attention to Tyler Shuck over the next couple weeks, because I think he's probably going to be what we get to start next season. The Falcons didn't look fabulous in this game by any stretch, but they needed to come away with this in survival mode.
Yeah.
That division is still very much up for grabs. Some of the other games here, the Seahawks beat the Titans 30-24. Last minute Titans touchdown that really made this game look closer than it was. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba had just 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. He is
on pace to become the first 2,000-yard receiver ever.
Unbelievable. The Ravens destroyed the Jets 23-10. Although I will say this, it was a better looking Jets team. They were up 7-0 for a long time in this game.
No,
Lamar Jackson looks hurt, Albert. I mean, he doesn't look healthy.
There's just something with Lamar that's not right now. We'll see, but like since he came back from the injury, he hasn't looked the same. And I don't know if we hang some of that on Todd Monken. The running game has been hit or miss. The Ravens defense is still really good. It's going to be interesting to see on Thursday night with a Bengals team that could be getting Joe Burrow back, what that looks like.
Oh, it's so frustrating that like the season just went exactly the way it did with the Bengals. And you just right now, I mean, there's so much disbelief, and it's hard to I don't know. It's hard to get there. The Bengals, they lost 26-20 in this one. I mean, Joe Flacco had the ball with a chance to come back in this one, but the big news here is that Will Campbell went down for the Patriots, and we'll see
massive loss.
Yeah, we'll see what Drake May is like without his left tackle. I don't know if this is necessarily one of those injuries that sinks their season. I think that New England, and I hate to be the, if Tom Curran is listening, I hate to spoil his absolute hot girl summer here, but I think that it was always going to come back down somewhat, right? I mean,
they're not an elite team yet. And I think that this is why they were smart to stand pat at the trade deadline. They were playing over their head, and that's a credit to Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a credit to Mike Vrabel and his staff. That's a credit to the players that they brought in. That's a credit to the culture they put in place. Would I be surprised if they level off and lose a bunch the rest of the way? No. Losing a left tackle is a big deal, like we said earlier in the show. Will Campbell's played really, really well for them. I don't think this team was ever going to be like a AFC Championship, Super Bowl type of team. I think the Bills still could catch them in the AFC East. And I love where they are. Like I can't tell you, like, if I rooted for teams, and I haven't rooted for teams in over 20 years, I'd be really excited about where the Patriots franchise is right now. They're in position to really be a contender over the next few years. But I just never, I don't think they're there yet. And I think the last couple of weeks they scuffled with the Jets. This is a Bengals team at the end of the game was without, 4 guys who take up like half their salary cap in Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. I think you're going to start to see water seek its level a little bit here, which is fine. Again, I think they're in a great shape. The problem with being up here for this, Conor, is now everybody's gone back into arrogant, evil empire mode where they're like, if you say anything remotely negative or you're not on board with this being like, a reincarnation of where the Patriots were in the early 2000s, then you're a hater. So if that makes me a hater, I guess that's what I am.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still can't get over the 348 strength of schedule. And I know strength of schedule is what it is, but it's like Raiders, Dolphins. Your wins were Raiders, Dolphins, Panthers, Bills, which is a big win. Saints, Titans, Browns, Falcons, Bucs, which is Jets and Bengals. And it's like, and then you get the Giants next week. They're going to be 11-2 before they get to, I mean, like, right. And then you have,
that could be tricky for the Patriots though. Like that one, I had that one circled earlier before the injuries. Like that's a Giants team that does still bring Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
And
like, without your
without
your left tackle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, really quickly, just to finish up the week here, the Jaguars survive a last-minute surge from the Cardinals to win 27-24. Jacoby Brissett just like bombed one on 4th and like 3 instead of opting to get the team into field goal.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Strange.
Like,
yeah. Jonathan Gannon said he liked it, but I think Jonathan Gannon's got to say a lot of things publicly that he probably can't say privately, and he's got to play it cool. And the Packers beat the Vikings 23-6. I mean, JJ McCarthy looks lost. This was, by all analytical measures, one of the worst quarterbacking performances of the last like 25 years. And he's not getting there,
I'd be concerned. I trust Kevin O'Connell to do right by the young quarterback, but that's a situation where so many things are right. And I don't know. I mean, it almost feels like for his own good, maybe you go to Max Brosmer now. I do know that they want to get a look at Max Brosmer by the end of the year. Kevin O'Connell said a lot about like prioritizing a young quarterback's confidence and how important that is. You almost wonder if for JJ's own good, maybe it's time that he takes a beat. I don't know, but it just has not looked good at all the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Green Bay, when you could run the ball like the way that they did and without Josh Jacobs, I think that gives me a little bit more faith here. And I'm not ready to say that this team is going to, win the division. I'm not even ready to say that for certain the Packers are going to make the playoffs, but Emmanuel Wilson looked good in this one. And that was still a good Vikings defense that, they went right down the field. They scored. It's those scripted drives that JJ McCarthy looks all right, but then the rest of the time.
And this is a really good Packers defense still.
It's a great Packers defense. They're going to lose Jeff Hafley soon. And last but not least, we have the Giants losing for the second time this season after putting up 500-plus yards of offense. Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, was fired. Charlie Bullen, their outside linebackers, pass rushing coach, he's going to get in and get the nod at DC for the remainder of the year. This game had it all, Albert. It had Jahmyr Gibbs getting me 60 fantasy points. It had Jameis Winston catching a touchdown pass, but saying that doesn't do it justice. This was a contested catch and then a stiff arm and then a score. And it was just the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen in my entire life.
This was a perfect Jameis game, which is like, makes it a shame that the Giants lost it because it was just like the wild crap that was happening. There was one ball he threw downfield. I can't remember who it was to. Maybe it was to Robinson, but I thought it was going to hit the top of the dome. Like he threw it up so high, somehow whoever it was came down with it. It was a fun game from that perspective. I talked to Aiden Hutchinson after the game, and I thought his take was interesting that this was a game where a million things went wrong for them, and they were able to harness what they needed to harness to make it happen. And I think it's one of the things I'd be most encouraged with if I was the Lions here is on your worst day, your best players made the biggest plays to get you out of what would have been a really crappy loss.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, it's the 2 runs by Gibbs that were just spectacular. And the moves he makes in short areas in the hole, just unbelievable. Amon-Ra St. Brown making big catch after big catch after big catch. Aiden Hutchinson himself having the sack to close it out. I still think I still think this Lions team, like, I don't know, man. Like, there's so much talent there, and there have been points this year where it didn't look like they had their crap fully together. But this is one of those Sundays where so many things go wrong, and you just see the talent they have on the roster, and some of these guys just going and winning when they need to win to get the team on the right side of the result. I don't know. I think there's something good to take from this, and now we got a really interesting early. I mean, the Thanksgiving slate's great this year. Like, so that early game, the Lions Packers game, becomes really, really interesting too. Who are trying to keep pace with the first place Chicago Bears.
Oh, yeah. Last but not least, the Chicago Bears. They outlasted the Pittsburgh Steelers, the non-Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that we have a couple of running teams in the running for this year's Commanders. Certainly Chicago is one of them, New England being the other. But you can't overstate the offensive line makeover, which I think is the front to back reason why this team is so excellent. And even on a day where you're rushing, you get 12 rushes for 48 yards from Monangai, you could still sling it for 35 times with Caleb Williams, and he only gets sacked once. And, he doesn't turn the ball over. And against Pittsburgh, that's everything. I mean, one quarterback hit, Albert. One quarterback hit from the Steelers defense.
That's why I think Joe Thuney was one of the best acquisitions of the offseason, because I just think, like, that guy who, I mean, like, if you look at, like, his playtime numbers over the course of his career, it's insane. Like, how often he's been out there at those positions to be that durable is wild. And he's in his 10th year now. But I just think, like, I think Thuney comes in and brings, like, a level of professionalism to the group. You know what I mean? Like, where, I don't know, like, he's one of those players where you just feel like, if that guy is not going to be part of a bleep show, you know what I mean?
For sure.
I guess that's the best way to put it. You know what I mean? But, like, that guy is not going to be part of a weird, crappy situation. Like, and that doesn't mean he fixes everything or he deserves credit for everything. But I do think, like, acquiring a guy like that, really smart move by Ryan Poles, does have a way of adding professionalism to the group as a whole. And, it gets guys like Ozzie Trapillo, a rookie starting at left tackle, Darnell Wright, who had some maturity issues. You get him playing at a higher level at right tackle. Like, I just think it has, like, this multiplying effect. And yeah, you love where the Bears are at, because I think one of the coolest things about watching Caleb for me too is like, they found a way to manage his development without taking his magic away.
Yeah.
He's still not perfect. You know what I mean? But this is not a situation where you're developing a quarterback where you're, like, protecting the rest of the team from the young quarterback making a mistake. Like, sometimes you see that where there'll be a young quarterback, and, like, it's like Mark Sanchez and the Jets back in the day, right? Like, you almost felt like it hurt his development, and you would know more about this than me because you were there every day, but you almost felt like they were hiding him. You know what I mean? Like, and I think maybe, like, that worked for those Jets in the moment, and it's hard to argue against what they got out of it because they went to back-to-back AFC championship games. But, did that hinder his development long-term? That's not what's happening here. You still have, like, Caleb out there making plays off script and doing Caleb Williams things. And you've just found a way to be competent enough everywhere else where you can absorb some mistakes and still get the big plays out of them to make a difference. And, he made big plays in this one. He and DJ Moore hooked up, a couple of times, and it looks like they've got a real good rapport right now. And obviously, like, the scrambles against the Giants, the big throw down the seam against the Bengals to Colston Loveland, like, it looks like Ben Johnson is doing a really nice job of developing him, and not in the traditional, like, babying him way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, really bringing him along and seeing what he can do, and making him ride out good and bad.
Well, Albert, I think that about does it for us. We've said it all, and we've closed the book on yet another week of NFL football. I'm kind of interested to watch Panthers tonight. And
by the way, the question up on the First Take Kyron, which this can be a weekly thing for us right now, is, was Sunday a legacy-defining win for Dak? I don't know if I'm willing to go that far.
I thought you were going to say for Shedeur Sanders. My God. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We will see you guys on Monday for next week. And let me just say this: enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday with your friends, with your family. If you are working alone this Thanksgiving,
Yep.
connor.orr@si.com. Drop me an email. I always check my email on Thanksgiving. I have some people reach out who maybe you're working a shift or something like that. You want to talk a little bit of football. I'll try to do my best to answer a couple emails or
I'll
reach out
throw
on
my
Twitter. Yep.
I'll throw my email out there too. If you want to copy me on that, it's albert.breer at si.com.
Yep.
The two of us know what it means to work on Thanksgiving.
A
So,
100%. And, for those of you guys who have to work on Thanksgiving for whatever reason, just know we appreciate it. And hopefully someone saves a plate of turkey for you. But thank you guys for everything. We're extremely thankful for you. We saw some listeners responding to Awful Announcing was asking their favorite media pieces of media for 2025. And a couple people had mentioned the MMQB podcast with the two of us, and just know how much that warms our hearts and how much that meant to us. So thank you guys. Have a great holiday, and we will see you after a little break on Monday.